We're going live once more with Venezuela as President Nicolas Maduro has reached, also is taking part of in the day of mobilization as part of the day of resistance, 533 days of indigenous resistance. In the National Day, we continue as indigenous peoples have come out to celebrate their 533 years of struggle for their sovereignty, for their rights, and for their culture and history. In Venezuela, this is taking place in Venezuela, but this is a national day that is celebrated in numerous countries in the continent, a day marking the day when Christopher Columbus arrived in the continent, marking the beginning of the colonization period and the exploitation of and the extermination in many cases of the indigenous populations and slavery of the indigenous populations that were here. So this is a live images coming from Venezuela. President Nicolas Maduro and the first combatant, Celia Flores, also participant here on these large gatherings that have taken place across the nation of the indigenous movements, the indigenous people that are mobilizing, reaffirming their sovereignty and also their willingness, their commitment to peace and prosperity, to defend peace and the conquest of the Bolivarian Revolution. We must recall that with the triumph of the Bolivarian Revolution, with Commander Hugo Chavez, policies were promoted for the development and protection of the indigenous peoples of Venezuela, a protection to their right to their land and to their ancestral knowledge and traditions. The indigenous people of Venezuela takes part in every electoral process, making sure that their culture, their ethnicity is represented in the Bolivarian nation. So these are live images of the President Nicolas Maduro that has also come out to rally alongside the indigenous movements and the people of Venezuela, reaffirming another day of national struggle, another day of peaceful mobilization, reaffirming their commitment to peace and prosperity and their commitment to the defense of the homeland in a context that is being marked in recent weeks by U.S. threats and with the military deployment in the Caribbean Sea and the targeting of several fishing vessels in open waters in the economic exclusive zone of Venezuela. Aggressions that have come together with other, as they have been described by the Bolivarian authorities, of economic missiles in the framework of the sanctions and blockade and all the attacks against the economy of the nation, trying to bring it down the Bolivarian Revolution. And in this context of imperial aggression against the Bolivarian nation, this is another moment for citizens from all backgrounds to come together and express their commitment to the defense of their homeland, their commitment to peace, and their commitment to life. So this is part of the National Day of Struggle of Indigenous Peoples, as we were saying, as they are celebrating 533 days of resistance. Venezuela is commemorating the 533 years of indigenous resistance with symbolic activities like the one we're seeing on our screen right now, where President Nicolas Maduro is also taking part and participating in these large gatherings of indigenous people and the general public of Venezuela as a whole, and they're paying tribute to the struggle of the indigenous people. Earlier in the day, a ceremony was held and presided over by the Minister of Popular Power for Indigenous Peoples, Clara Vidal. This is reaffirming what we were saying of the important representation that indigenous peoples have in the Venezuelan political scene. The Minister for Indigenous Peoples, Clara Vidal, together with other government authorities, performed the solemn flag-raising ceremony at the National Pantheon earlier in the day to begin this day of demonstration. And in this context, the Minister Vidal warned that Venezuela continues to be besieged by the U.S. empire and its allies and seek to undermine its sovereignty. And it's during that ceremony a flower offering was placed at the foot of the statue of Simón Bolívar, the great liberator of Latin America, and also the symbolic remains of two of the greatest chieftains of indigenous people that Venezuela had, that were example of the struggle against the colonial empires of that time, which was the Spanish Empire, chieftains Guaycaipuro and Apacuana. Indigenous Resistance Day is being commemorated, as we were saying, in recognition of the tireless resistance of these peoples in defending their territories and cultures. Let's listen to some of the statements we are seeing that are given live from the representatives of the indigenous people that are taking part in this heartwarming ceremony.